that worked on the freight cars and all that stuff.
If you was in the military, would they call that the clerk of the works? You know, you kind of handled the paperwork.
Yeah, well, we had I think, I don't know what they called that thing. We had to maintain it. It was put on with a machine, but it was telegraphy, radio telegraphy. And we had to maintain that there well, it started out as 2 hours, but it cut down, I think, to an hour without a break.
Is that what this machine is? What is this?
This is like they invented. Now this is different from radio telegraphy. The code is different from radio telegraphy, but the radio is much easier than this.
But tell him what this is, Paul. Tell him what this is.
Well, this is a old Morse code. It's old Morse code, and it's a it's a different code from what they used in the military and all that stuff. It's different from radio telegraphy.
Was it still called the Morse code?
Yeah, yeah. It's still. This is the original here.
Now that was how they communicated.
Oh yeah.
Like like a Gunsmoke, they'd go in and say, send a telegraph, and they'd try to send a telegraph to beat the train. But so that's what this is a telegraph machine.
Oh yeah. The story is something about when it first was invented, they sent a message. You know, they didn't have any way, and they said, "What has God wrought? What has God wrought?"
And this is it.
Yeah,
I guess. What we're doing
and
here.
Western Union used this code.
Now, what does that do? Send an electric pulse and it puts an ink blot somewhere and you read the ink?
No, they just have to listen.
No, you have to
just listen.
You have to copy it down.
Oh. Sitting there.
Yeah.
Tell him what SOS is.
Yeah, what's SOS?
Three dots, 3 dashes, and 3 dots. 3 dots, 3 dashes, 3.
Well, I'd never get that.
Can you imagine?
I'd have to starve.
I know. What was that?
Oh, the radio was much easier. You had earphones. You say earphone up to each ear, and it was a beep. It was easier to read. I was the better.
Now this came about prior to the railroad or after the railroad?
Oh, after
Which
the
came
railroad.
first? So the railroad came first.
Yeah, I think so.
And so why would you need to do telegraphy on a railroad?
They need a way of communication. In other words, we had a train dispatcher that dispatched trains with this to start, but we had the telephones when I started. Most all of ours was on the telephone instead of this. But from Blue Ridge, Georgia to Marietta, Georgia, it was all telegraphy. They didn't have any railroad telephones. And you had to know telegraphists to work one of those positions down through there.
So if you were coming from Louisville, Kentucky, you ride a train all the way to Etowah, and then from Etowah down, any communications was done with telegraphy.
Well, they couldn't communicate from the train.
No, not on
none.
That's what this is. He'll tell you about that later. That's what this
From
is.
Corbin, Kentucky to Etowah, Tennessee, it was all telephone. The operators did not have to be required to know telegraphy, but it was a telephone. They dispatched trains by telephone instead of telegraphy.
Tell him what dispatching is, where to put a particular car or something like that. When they drop a car.
Well, the dispatcher, they had an office in Knoxville. For the dispatcher's office was in Knoxville.
Well, tell him what a dispatcher does.
Well, he controls the train's movement. He gives one train a meet with another train.
Yeah, because they got to meet up.
Yeah, right.
You know, for my age, all of this stuff is foreign. To him, it's the way they did it.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
how old were you when you went to work?
I was 16,
What year would that have been?
1943.
So at that time, L&N Railroad was 100 years old.
Yeah.
I guess, right?
Well, they included the railroad from Etowah to Cartersville, Georgia in 1906.
Now let me ask you this: why Etowah, Tennessee?
Well, that's where the old line branched off and went to Atlanta, VIA, Copper Hill, Blue Ridge, and down that way.
But
That's
why
the
that?
old line.
Why there? What was significant about Etowah at the time?
Well, I don't know. They decided on Etowah. I think they talked about a place just south of Etowah, but that's where they wound up with it.
Now, if you go to Etowah today, the streets are really wide. They have like Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, there's another name. They're named after states. Tennessee Avenue. See,
Tennessee
the main
Avenue,
street
yeah.
is Tennessee Avenue.
That's right. That's
and,
right.
And all the avenues, they got it marked. They had it marked good.
Now, why?
All the streets are states, and then they got some that runs this way. They got numbers, I think, for them. Maybe some of them that runs east and west.
Where was your first occupation at 16 for the railroad?
I started as what they call a student operator while I was in high school, learning to be an operator.
You want to know where, Pop?
At Ocoee, Tennessee. The depot's gone now. It was at Ocoee.
Benton Station or the other?
No, Benton. I was the agent at Benton Station for about 6 years one time, but this was at Ocoee. I started at Ocoee.
It's south of.
It was opened.
Not Tinga.
No.
That's too far, right?
It's south of, when you go over the 411 there.
Yeah.
It's about a quarter mile south of that.
Well, you know where the brick used to be a store building is on the other side of the 411?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The depot is right across from there.
And didn't Stampers start?
No, Stampers was north of there.
But they started in Ocoee.
It's at that crossing up there. That's where Stampers.
Doc German talks about the Stampers having the store there while he was at Caney Creek. That was almost the exact same time.
Oh, yeah, Stampers was in business a long time.
Is that the same ones that had the store in Cleveland?
Yeah, that's the same one. They just came to Cleveland. Mm-hmm.
Did you know the main guy, Stamper?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Who was the...
Otto Stamper.
Otto Stamper.
What's the other store across the road where they hack off bananas? They bring bananas in on the train.
Ask Luther Moore on that.
They bring hanging bananas.
That was a rarity here.
Yeah, they kept the...
So in 1942 is when you went to work there.
43.
43. So the war was over or going on?
No, it's going on. It's over to 45, I believe, when they made surrender.
Were you well aware at 16 that the war was going on and that you might be drafted? Or...
Oh, yeah, my brother, just 2 years older than me, he was drafted. Mm-hmm.
That was a different war, wasn't it?
Yeah, he graduated in 42 and I graduated in 44.
They said that was a real war.
Oh, it's bad. Yeah, it's bad.
He got frostbite.
Yeah, he got frostbite feet. Mm-hmm.
What happened to his feet after that? Did they get okay, or?
Well, he had some problems with it.
But it's something you can still walk with that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when you went to work there at 16, what was your first job?
Well, my first job was, I had a temporary job, you might say. We had an extra board, but while I was in high school, I was what they called the emergency board. They could only work me where it didn't interfere with my school. But, however, I worked third shift operator there in the depot at Ocoee during my senior year and took midterm examination and working third shift. They needed some operators on third shift, and I worked third shift operator and went to school got up the next morning and went to school. I mean, I was already up.
Yeah.
Now,
Got on the school bus, I'll say, at the depot there in Old Coe and went.
now at
Cleveland,
16, you're going to school, you're taking exams, you're working third shift. Your brother's being drafted. What's your thought about people today drawing unemployment?
I don't know. People now, you can't get them to work.
You can't get them to work.
People is closing Hardee's and them closing all these restaurants around because they claim they can get employed, paying $14 and $15 an hour. You know what my minimum wage was when I started?
How much?
40 cents an hour.
40 cents.
40 cents an hour.
Did you feel privileged to have gotten a job? Was that like a
Oh,
really
yeah.
good place to work then?
Oh yeah, I thought I was doing good.
When the trains came in, what did you do?
Well, the train dispatcher was in Knoxville. He controlled the movement. You know, if he had two trains opposing each other, he wanted to meet at point X, but he gave them train orders to meet at point X. And these operators out on the line had to deliver these orders to these trains, had to hand them up with one of these.
So what was this?
That's a train order hook. You handed one up to the engineer, and you also
So
handed,
this is the orders.
that's an order.
Now what's that song? They gave him his orders from Monroe, Virginia. Said, "Steve, you're way behind time."
Yeah.
What was the name of that song?
That's the
Old
one-
44? No.
Record
Oh,
97.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wreck of 097.
Yeah.
This is what they were doing.
Yeah,
They gave him his orders
yeah.
from Monroe, Virginia.
And he
Of
was
course,
staying that close to the train going about 60.
Oh, so the train didn't stop.
No.
No, they went
Oh.
by there. Let me tell you something else. The funny part about it was handing up to, they run during World War II, they run a lot of double header steam engines. They had a steam engine on each, connected on the head end of that train. But the guy on the head engine, he controlled, you had to hand the order up to both of them. But if the second engineer missed his order, didn't get it, they wouldn't stop, because if he depended on this head engineer, because it was up to him to do the right thing.
So if he missed it, how fast is the train going?
Well,
Now, why wouldn't it just stop?
that delay them that way, that'd keep them moving.
So you'd hold it up, they'd go how fast?
Well, I don't know what the speed limit was. I'd say a good engineer would be running at least 50 miles an hour.
And he leaned out and stuck his hand
He
out.
stuck it out. It's got the string.
And then it
It's
yanked it.
It's got the string, you see. It drank
So
it out of the
it's
hook.
pinched right here.
It just drank
It just yanked it out. And he
Oh,
got
he
the-
took the whole string.
Yeah.
Oh, I
yeah,
see.
Oh, yeah.
Now that's a
That's
neat
a high
invention.
speed.
And then Dad had another one, had to pick up for when the caboose came by, and he had to hold it up for them. So he had two.
Why two?
Because there was no radios. They didn't know. They needed to know what was going on too.
Conductor needed to know. They didn't have no way of communicating with one
Yeah,
another.
he couldn't get on top
Without
and run
that-
across the, like the movies.
movies running.
But you know who invented this was
I
a
know
neat. It
That's
was
a high speed.
Anita.
Now, over on the old line between Blue Ridge and Woodstock, Georgia, they didn't have. Marietta was on the other line there going to Chattanooga. But anyway, they didn't have these what we call high-speed trains. They throwed the hoop up. They had to hand the whole hoop up. It was a round bamboo, made out of bamboo. It was kind of round like this. Had a clip on it to put their order in. But the engineer had to get the whole thing. But we had these over here from between Etowah and Cartersville. We had the high-speed train orders.
I've got a couple of those ones he's talking about, but they had to take it in the engine take loose and then throw it out the
And
window.
then
And you'd
the
have to
opera-
go a half a mile
But
down
then
to
the
the
get
operator
to
had
get
to
your
walk-
ring.
Yeah, to get it
Yeah.
back. It was
Operator had to walk down the track and pick it up because he carried on by a piece because he'd be a running. But they didn't run
Do
as
we have a
fast.
picture of him holding that up?
Well, they probably, some of them was originated in Etowah. It's cordoned on. If it's just an ordinary freight, it might have been made up in Etowah. But a lot of them was made up in Corbin, Kentucky.
Is this an original order?
Yeah, let me see what it says.
Call home. Could you do
show
that?
him how you open it, Pop. Just pull
Yeah, I
that.
know.
It's that little slip
Oh.
knot thing.
It'll even
Could-
tell
could
where
you
it'll tell where it's a 19 train order. That's one of the
19 what?
19 train order. We had a 19 and a 30. 31, they had the sign. Oh, this is,
That's the real McCoy.
yeah, this got Chatsworth, Georgia on here. That's where I was agents. Yeah, this is the real thing right here. I probably handed this up. Let's see if I did. Yeah, I sure
Or
did.
you forgot to hand it up.
Right there's my name right there.
Let him look at it, Pop.
That was it.
Yeah.
What if you ever send it up there and say, can't read your writing? Chatsworth, Georgia, February 1978. So this was,
I had about 10 years before they did away with it.
So he's just,
That's-
you just made that one up, I think, didn't you? Didn't we find some
I
other
might
blank
have.
stuff? And
I
think
might may have this.
so this is the Louisville and Nashville Railroad Company, otherwise
that's
known
what
as.
it was when I went to work. And
Did-
it's
did they-
changed that names 2 or 3 times?
Was it
It's,
called L&N?
Yeah.
Now, when you buy these train sets, are they L&N?
You can get
You-
about any road name. They call them road names.
Were these trains specific to L&N?
A lot of them use the same engines. They just painted them with.
So they bought them somewhere else. So somebody was a train manufacturer.
Baldwin
yeah.
was a engine manufacturer, wasn't it, Paul?
Yeah.
And,
Now,
then and then they. What about the cars?
Of course, they made some in Louisville, Kentucky, I think.
Did they?
L&N did, I think, at one time.
Would you have to start your own train company? Would have been a real big feat back whenever you did it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, they might have been on a small log, like logging, saw logs for a sawmill or something like that.
Consaga Lumber.
Consaga Lumber Company
had their own railroad.
They had their own railroad going back in the mountains because they hauled logs out of the mountains. You see,
Would those train tracks been made differently than the ones for locomotives?
well, they'd been the same gauge, the same width. Or they'd been the same width, but they might have been a lighter rail.
How many when they came by you? How many cars would there have been?
Well, it all depends.
Like 5 or
Oh
20?
no, they'd been more than that for a freight train. I'd say approximately 40 or 50, at least 40 or 50.
Did you ever see any? Now when you were the train, what do they call it, the train agent, station agent?
I was an operator. They called it operator clerk is what our title was.
Initially.
Conditioning, an operator clerk.
And so you were there by yourself, or did you have help?
Yeah, I was out there myself most of the time. After I got okayed as an operator, I was be there by myself. Of course, someone might be training me while I was learning, you know.
What was your progression through? You went there at 16 as an extra.
Well, like I say, I okayed as an operator before I got out of high school. Like I told you, I worked and went to school also. I worked a third shift, a solid week one time, and went to school 5 days a week. We didn't work when we started work for the railroad. We were on guys like that worked as an operator or agent, I'll say agent operator at Ocoee. That was his title, agent operator. He did the station work and also the train order work. He was called an agent operator. And
Did they have bathrooms in the? Was it called a depot?
No, we didn't. We had electricity. We had electricity at Ocoee because it was open 24 hours 7. You needed electric. Benton Station, where I worked for about 6 years, never did have electricity. Never did have electricity because it was a daytime only operation.
What did you do there during the day that you wouldn't have done at Ocoee? That made Ocoee need to stay up all night.
Well, they needed Ocoee for train orders on the other 2 shifts, second and third shift.
For this.
Yeah, yeah. They had them at Ocoee and Chatsworth and Fairmount, Georgia. They had night operators at those stations between Etowah and Cartersville.
And so, where did you get the orders?
The train dispatcher gave them to me out of Knoxville. He was located in Knoxville.
How did he give them to you?
With telephone.
And you just write them down?
Yeah.
Is that where you got that?
Yeah.
What would they be telling them?
They would be just like, let's see, what's that one say there? Is he meeting somebody or?
It says,
as far as it say?
It says, I can't.
Let me see.
I can't
let me
even.
see
Well, what would be a typical thing from the
be a direct meet, or could be a run late order. Oh yeah, now this is what they call sections. Ordinarily, a train and this run is number 53, or they might have trains out there and they have to first 53 or second 53. Run them as sections. If there's more than one, they run them as sections. But they were running on a timetable. You know, the number would be on the timetable, just a number so and so. And this guy was running as a second.
So that's a real order then.
It could be.
Yeah.
I'd say it probably is. I'd say. See, here's second and third. See, there's three's running on the same schedule.
What would you, like say you got a car in, they dropped the car off at the depot, what would be for like a business or something?
Well, it would be handled on the local out of no. For Ocoee would be train number 7 out of Etowah would handle that. They'd give it to him out of Etowah.
And what would be on one of the cars typically? Like?
Well, they'd have a way bill went with the car.
What's
a way bill with
to tell you how much
it went from the origin to destination. Tell where the car was built and where it was going.
Now the L&N was originally just a train from Louisville to Nashville. That's how it, and then they expanded. Was that just for?
Well, I don't know. Like I say, the new line was built. But let's see, there was something about the old line coming to Copper Hill, I guess, because used to the copper out of Copper Hill had to come by wagon from Copper Hill to Cleveland.
Took 2 days.
Took 2 days before they built the old line,
which was
from Etowah to Copper Hill.
Not from Cleveland to Etowah.
No.
Cleveland Southern.
Cleveland Southern.
It's Southern Railroad.
Now, how did they go around buying properties from people? That, to me, would be a very difficult. How were they able to do that then?
Some people was more generous than others. Now, Mr. Lawson, they say, was partially, well, a whole lot to blame, I might say, for getting the depot to come to in Benton Station. He donated the land for a minimum wage, I think. the minimum law would allow him to down. But somebody said he liked his moonshine or something. He liked to go to Atlanta or something.
Yeah.
You want to want to ride the train to Atlanta, get him some moonshine.
Now, did Benton Station have a? Was there a stop there?
Well,
or was
when
it?
I went to work, the only stop we had was what we called the number 7 and 8 was a local freight, but he had a passenger car on the rear for a caboose. And the Railway Express, of course, you may not be familiar with Railway Express, but it was something faster than freight. But on small packages, REA Express.
So that'd be like your modern day UPS.
Yeah.
But was there package? Was there any passenger trains?
Oh yeah, we had, when I went to work, we had 4. We had 2 each way.
So did they stop?
So we had, not no Coy they did, no. But we had train 33 and 32.
Where'd they stop, Paul? Where did they stop for riders to get on?
Etowah and it was conditional even in Cartersville. They all stopped in Etowah because they changed engineers. They went back in steam engines. They changed all the engines in Etowah, passenger trains and all.
So in Etowah. Well, let's go back to Benton Station. Benton Station was just a pass through, a place to hold up messages.
And you could ship a carload freight to Benton.
So it would stop.
They was a coal dealer in Benton during the winter time. They'd get a few cars of coal at Benton Station when I was aged there.
Now in Benton Station, where was? I always get confused
you know
on
where
where
the underpass is at Benton Station.
Yeah, you know those
just south of the underpass.
About a quarter.
Was
this side.
Well, now,
Where the church is, where the graveyard is that has no heads, that has no heads.
Not that far.
Not that far.
About halfway.
No, there's a little road that went up from the underpass, went up to the depot, right alongside the railroad.
Probably
See, I've
100
never
yards.
seen that.
If you come from Benton, come under the underpass, make a left turn, and you run parallel with the railroad up to where the depot's at, up there.
So they would stop and you could unload and load.
Oh yeah, there was handled by the local freight. Less than carload, they handle less than carload freight too.
Now, when you go under that underpass coming from Benton, there's a piece of property on the right that looks like a. You ever seen those people that live there? It's like
yeah.
The
goat
goats
farm.
in there.
Yeah, what is there? They're self-sufficient, aren't they?
Yeah, we can't figure out how they got a permit.
They're so close.
There's a creek right there, so it can't perk. We've never figured that out, how they got power.
Or even who they are. And it's fairly long. It's 1,000 feet, I guess, isn't it? Football field length.
Yeah, but it's narrow. It's not.
Got bamboo. You can't see. Were they there when you were there?
No.
They've come later. Let me tell you about Capstar Bank. They're located in Nashville, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Athens, Madisonville, Sweetwater, Etowah, and in Cleveland at 950 25th Street and 3855 North Ocoee Street. I've used them. I like them. Give them a try. They're no problem. Now the station at Benton Station, there was no electricity and no bathroom.
Right.
What year was you the station agent?
Let's see, I believe it's about 1951 November 1951 when I came. I stayed there about 6 years.
And they closed at about 58 or 9, I think.
But he didn't stay there about a year or not over. You see, they closed Ocoee first, and he rolled me. He used his seniority on the railroad. See, the agent, the one that trained me at Ocoee, he was still working at Ocoee. and they closed Ocoee. It said cut it off. Well, he used his seniority and displaced me off of Benton because he had seniority on me.
Where'd you go then?
Let's see, Copper Hill.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I
Oh,
went.
you was from Copper Hill in '50. Did you go back to Copper Hill? Did you go to Tinga?
Yeah, I went to Etowah so many times. So Etowah and went to Tinga about twice, and Chatsworth, Georgia about 2 or 3 times. So
As the station agent?
Yeah. I just used where my
Well,
senior.
show that one where he's got darker hair. It's a younger version.
Oh, I
That's
got
it,
it. Yeah, I
Tinga.
got it right here.
Yeah.
For when I was working at Copper Hill.
I had.
No, it's another one, Pop. He's pulling it.
Oh, he's got a.
Yeah.
You at the depot at Tinga, the one.
Oh
I
yeah,
took.
okay. All right, yeah, that's.
You know where Tinga got its
Now,
name?
this picture right here was. Where do you remember having that picture taken?
That
Oh
was
yeah, that's been so many years service. I got
a pen or something.
probably a 10-year service, I guess.
Well, you were tall.
That's just a. Yeah, I was 6 foot then. I'm 5'11" now. That was a train master handling me that certificate there.
Where was he from?
Knoxville. And that's another fellow. That other fellow there, I believe he's getting an award too. The guy there standing beside of me, he was kept the telephones up. What he did, he the lady. And there's the agent back there in the back. That's Bud Fowler. He was in both pictures. Mm-hmm. See, he was the agent.
That one there. Yeah.
That's Tinga.
That's Tinga.
That's
Tinga, Georgia.
Yeah, you know.
No, it's in Tennessee. It's in Tennessee.
Now that
It's on. Right
they
on.
had the big tornado here a while back, right? No, that's I'm thinking of.
There's some school bus kids got killed there.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
But back then, Tennessee's abbreviation was TENN, and Georgia was GA, so Tinga. But if you live there, it's Tingy.
So that's how
That's where it got its name.
See, I was.
It's right on the line.
So what is it really? But it's really in Tennessee.
Well,
the
the
depot
depot
was
was.
in Tennessee.
But the town is kind of half and half.
Well, that'd be confusing.
The post office was in Georgia, but the depot was just barely in Tennessee. Now that's
Now, where is that in relationship to that cat food place, restaurant?
Oh, it's on south down there, 15 miles, I guess, or something. Tinga.
well.
Ocoee.
Are you familiar with the new bridge they built over the railroad there in Tinga?
No, I hadn't been there in a while.
Yeah, they built a new bridge. They just hadn't it opened up.
Do you remember that bar they called the Blue Goose?
Oh yeah,
Is that?
that's Blue. Let's back up. That's in Polk County.
That's in Polk County, yeah.
That's a little farther.
A little further, yeah.
It's up there. There's
Then you got
Crossroads.
Connoisseur.
It's Crossroads on the top.
Davis
of the hill.
Kerbo Road?
Or you can go to Cleveland.
Yeah.
You can go to Cleveland on one of them, or you can go back to the ball play in Polk County.
Yeah.
You can go back the other way and go to ball play.
Do you remember when that picture was taken in Tinga?
I took it.
You took it.
I rode my Honda 150 down there. It was about 67, somewhere
Yeah,
around
the depot,
there.
it was still active back then.
It was what?
It was still active, it hadn't closed, as you know.
Put that picture back up, please, now. Tell them what those levers are. See in the window
that's
over
where-
there? See that
Now, the
little thing
levers are
sticking up?
sitting on we were talking about train orders a while ago, and the train, those signals there in the middle with that, you see it looks like a metal tin flag, and that's a lock keeping you from pulling that board there. Of course, this is all posed here. This is, I'm posing as if I'm a cop in a train or repeating,
I said, do something, Bob.
repeating the train orders there.
Do you have the other picture with the outside of the depot?
No,
Sure.
not with me.
Well, I'll send it to them.
Okay.
Were you proud to be a railroad worker
Oh, yeah.
at that time?
Oh yeah.
There's one that I took the same day of the outside. There it is.
There's the,
Ah.
there's the train orders now.
Yeah.
That's my car sitting out there.
On the right, is that your
Yeah.
Honda?
That's my Honda 150 sitting there.
How old were you, Phil, at that time?
And
I was about
not-
15, I guess.
that's my Ford there. My car.
63 Galaxy
60
500.
Galaxy 500.
Tell about those train order boards, Pop.
Yeah. We got them caught, and that's sitting on a 19 train order, both directions.
What'd that mean?
They'd be a train come along there, and I just hand them up an order to them according to that.
Yeah.
Of course, that's just a posing, I think, where we get a picture of
And
it.
that other picture, those things you could barely see in the window, the reliever.
Oh, I see. That thing on the top is a flag thing.
Yeah, they move.
Yeah.
Oh.
They do like this.
Oh,
And
It's a
so
sim- it's
so
a-
that tells
the
the
train.
train guy to get his arm out,
Yeah.
that he's getting ready to get an order.
Yeah, 19. And
Yeah.
if I left it like this, it means he'd have to stop is red, and straight up is green.
So
If it
so
didn't have
you
no orders for him, when he he called for the board by blowing with his whistle.
he says he's coming,
Oh yeah.
and he'd blow the horn.
He'd blow the horn when he got so close to you. And if you didn't have any orders for him, you'd pull him a green board and let him go. See.
He didn't have to hold his arm out or be
No,
ready to
no,
catch.
No. There comes a freight train.
Now there's another.
There's
That
some-
ring you were talking about.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's that hoop kind
At
of
that
thing.
there's the guy handing one up to him. See the smoke coming out?
Now, when you were doing the trains like that, was there smoke billowing like that?
Oh yeah.
Were they powered with coal?
Oh yeah. We didn't have no oil burners over here that I know of.
Did
It's
you
all-
have? Was there somebody in the train shoveling coal?
Yeah, they had stokers on the big ones, and some of the old ones is hand tampered.
Was
They had
that
the
the fireman
firemen.
that did that?
Yeah, we had with a shovel.
How many of them?
Just one fireman on the engine.
So he could shovel. He'd shovel coal the whole way.
Oh yeah, from Etowah
Well, he could probably take a
To
break,
Atlanta.
I guess. Then they had to stop and get water too, because
they had a water tank at
They
Old
might-
Cohen.
Because that's what they used. That's
and
the.
it'd blow up if you got too low in water.
What if the guy shoveling had the flu? He just couldn't.
Oh, they'd relieve him just like they relieved the engineer. They'd have to relieve him.
Now-
if he couldn't make it, they'd have to relieve him.
Did you ever want to drive, or were you just content with staying at the place?
Well, I never did think much about driving it, really.
Did you live in Benton at the time? Where did you live? Are you from?
I'm originally from Ocoee. But
What
we,
did your-
we built a house in Benton Station while I was agent
In
there
55.
in '55. We built a house there in the Benton Station community, and we lived there. Well, we kept the house. Phil kept the house a long time after he
But it
moved
was-
back there into it once after he left Sweetwater.
But it was up past the cemetery you're talking about just
Right,
a
on
couple
the-
of 100 yards on the same side of the.
Wonder why that cemetery doesn't have any upright headstone.
Well,
Well,
it's
that's-
easier to maintain. So.
Yeah, it's easy to maintain. They mow over it, see?
It looks neat.
Yeah.
They ought to. It would save a fortune not having to weed it around all those. Would in
Yeah.
the first place
The
they
old-
wouldn't do it.
The old sense across the road, it's got the tall monument.
Yeah. Now, you were from. What'd your father do?
He's a farmer. And he's a real good carpenter when he could get any work, because his time come up during the Depression, you know. He took a contract to build a house next door to where we lived. $200 took a contract to build this lady a house. $200 labor. $200, see. Well, one day she'd want it this way. He
I know the
put
feeling.
put in. The next day she changed her mind. You know what? He finally give it up. She changed her mind so much, he just said to heck with it.
I know the feeling.
They didn't have no trouble. Y'all should have had a contract. What they should have had. Just word of mouth, you see. And she kept changing her mind, but he got tired of it.
He couldn't take it anymore.
Give it that.
He had to.
But he's a good old fellow. I grew up during the Depression, the hard times, but a lot of people, I don't know whether this lady was married or not, but she had a young kid that died, no money. My daddy made the kid a little casket. He made the kid a little casket, and I think somebody might have bought the cloth to line it inside with. Maybe he done that, but he furnished the lumber and the nails and done all the work and fixed. I remember him doing that.
What was about what year would that have been?
Well, I was a kid. That's before I went to work for the railroad. It was back in the 30s, I'd say. It's hard to give you an exact year, but I'd say
circa, right?
I'd
Circa.
say back in the 30s.
Yeah, circa. I always wondered what that was. So, you lived in Benton and Ocoee, Tennessee. About where were you raised?
I was raised down there. Well, I don't know whether you ever heard of how long you live in Cleveland.
Oh, my whole life. I've been everywhere
once. Have you ever
once.
heard of the Shed Presbyterian Church in Ocoee?
No.
Well, let's see. It would be about 3 miles from the depot. Go south on 411, and there's an underpass down there under the railroad.
Like the one in Benton Station.
Like the one in Benton Station. Mm-hmm. Down there. You turn off of 411, go under that underpass, and the first church you come to is Beach Springs. It's a Baptist church. Mm-hmm. It's a Baptist church. On up the road, on the same road, is the Shed Cumberland Presbyterian, great big cemetery across the road.
SHED?
Yeah, they call it the Shed. Well, right after the World War II, sometime thereabout, the old church got old or something. They decided and the congregation had probably fallen off quite a bit too, I guess. So they decided to make it smaller, and they tore the old church down and built a smaller, which is standing today, but it's in terrible condition. They hadn't had church there in long time.
But tell me where you lived on up the road.
That would have been about a quarter of a mile from the Shed, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's right before you get to...
Past the cemetery and the church on the right, before you got to the old Federal Road.
Crossroads.
You know where the old crossroads is?
I know where the crossroads is.
Well, that house just south of the crossroads there is still there. My daddy built that house when him and my mother went to housekeeping.
Now you call it, that's interesting. People your age call it housekeeping.
Yeah.
We call it getting married.
Yeah.
Why do y'all call it housekeeping?
Well, I don't know.
Same reason they called
that's when
supper.
I guess, yeah.
That's when they moved away from their own home, I guess, and started keeping their house, maybe.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, that's what happened.
But then when I was younger, I remember little girls wanted to play house.
Oh yeah,
so that
was the dolls.
With the dolls, but that was the new version. That's where they got that saying play house.
Yeah.
But your generation would start housekeeping.
Yeah.
That scared me to death, wouldn't it? You? How old was he when you was in the depression? Do you remember? You think about your generation. You're coming up in the Depression, right?
Yeah.
And
let's see, born in 26.
26.
So he was.
I mean, you ushered in the Depression.
Oh yeah.
By the time you're 8, instead of playing video games, you're collecting cans and newspapers, picking cotton.
Picking cotton.
How much do you get paid for picking cotton?
About $1 a day, I guess. But I wasn't very good. I picked hard, and I never could pick. I don't believe I ever did pick 100 pound
Of cotton.
in a day.
I could hardly wear 100-pound of cotton. Could you wear 100-pound of cotton?
That would be big as this room.
Well, they some. I think they fudged some. I mean, so there's one old fella claimed he
Put a
picked
rock
about.
in there.
Yeah. Well, them boys picked some for us, and one of the oldest one got a whole lot more than the youngest did. I believe he kind of fudged. I believe he got some of his younger brothers.
But Dad was the baby of the family.
So how many brothers and sisters were there?
There's 7 of us all told. I had 2 sisters and 4 brothers.
He's the last one left.
I was the last one. I'm the oldest Lee we got any record on.
Now, as you got older, by 16, 17, you're having to go to work.
Oh,
Third shift.
Yeah.
At times.
Yeah.
And then your brother's gone to the war.
Yeah.
And then when you get a little older, they send your kids to Vietnam, right? I guess about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well,
that's
Phil's
why they
lucky-
call your
Phil's
generation.
lucky he didn't have to go, but he's the only son.
But your generation is known as the greatest generation.
Oh yeah.
That y'all made America.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah.
And when you got this job, you were glad to have you.
Oh,
Proud
I
of.
was, yeah. I was tickled to death.
Now your dad, what did he just carpenter his whole life? I mean, there wasn't any jobs.
Maybe sawmill a little bit too.
And he had a
And he
grist
worked-
mill too, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he ground corn.
Now back then, people didn't have really
Are you?
careers, right? I mean, they didn't like go to work somewhere. They had to carve out a living, right? I guess.
Tell me about you breaking your arm and what Grandma did.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, this is when I was in elementary grammar school in Old Fort. We were out on exercise. I mean, break period, we'll say, and
Now, what say that again?
Recess.
Break period.
yeah, break
recess.
period. Yeah, I was on break period, and there was 2 guys jumped up on me for some. They was playing. They jumped up on me and caused me to fall. And broke my arm in the elbow here. Broke my arm, and my mother sold a calf, I think, to pay the doctor bill. I went to Dr. Ferguson. He ran a hospital there in Cleveland, P&S Hospital in Cleveland. You may have heard of P&S Hospital.
I've heard of Specs. I guess that was prior to Specs, right?
No,
They was
Specs was on
competitive.
down now.
Oh, this was two. Yeah.
There's 2 different
It's
ones.
about where the museum is now.
Yeah, before you get to it, yeah.
That was the
29.
first one you came to in town, I guess.
Yeah. And of course, I never could straighten that arm after then. That's as close as I could get it to my. And you know the way I straightened it?
Yeah.
Pitching horseshoes. Not legal horseshoes off of a horse that's been wearing them.
Oh.
And that's what straightened my arm. Boy, it felt like he was going to pull the leaders out there too. I could just.
So that's how you. That was your rehab.
That's where I got that straight.
Was that on purpose?
Oh yeah, we had a place up where we pitched horseshoes, and this just happened all the same time. And I pitched horseshoes. That's the way I got my arm as straight as what it was.
You know, I remember going to church gatherings and dinner on the grounds and stuff, and the men would
Pie suppers.
pie suppers, and the men would play horseshoes.
Yeah.
They'd
Oh yeah.
ringers and leaners
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah.
But my kids would have no clue what we're talking about.
No. But we didn't count the score or anything like what it is. I
Yeah.
think actually
Yeah.
we just count.
Yeah.
We counted the leaner 3, I think it was, and the leaner 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And couldn't you knock a leaner off or something?
Yeah.
Something you
Yeah.
could-
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Now, where did your family from originally?
Well, my mother was from Murray County, Georgia, down below Chatsworth. That's where my daddy got her. He had to ride the little old train that we call the short dog. That was before my time. Yeah. The short dog was already cut off when I went to work but the short dog went from Etowah to Cartersville. They
So-
call it the short dog.
What was it official's name?
Well, it was, I don't remember what the number was in the timetable. That's before my time.
So-
but I don't remember.
So it seemed to be fairly common for shorter trains to go from one place to the next.
Oh, yeah.
But not connected.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this one went, my understanding, it went from Etowah to Cartersville. That's my understanding.
Now, what was he originally from? Polk County himself? Your
Who's
father?
he?
Your father
Well, no, he's born in Murray County, Georgia.
also.
Alicolsey Valley. That's in Murray County, I believe.
Chatsworth area.
Yeah.
What'd you call it?
Alicolsey.
Alicolsey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people that were in Benton, Polk County, Ocoee, associated quite a bit with people from Murray. Like Doc German said that he met his wife in Murray County, and he was from County. Evidently, that was just a straight shot to get there.
Oh yeah.
Now, when you staying on the railroad the whole time, how did you end up in Etowah? Show that picture of him as the last.
I stayed where I did live because by seniority, you know, we been on jobs by seniority.
Did you stay at your house in Ocoee until you moved to Benton Station, or did you go different places?
I stayed in a house till we moved away from Benton Station.
No, he's talking about in your old home place when.
Yeah,
When did you move? When you got married?
Oh, I got married.
1950.
Let's see, I went to living in Copper Hill when I first married.
Why
Well,
Copper?
I was working up there.
Oh, I see. Did you like Copper Hill living there?
Yeah, I liked it.
How
Do
many-
you feel like that's Benton? Let's see, Copper Hill is in what county?
Polk
It's same
County.
Polk County.
But we
It's
call it
Polk-
above the mountain.
It's
above
above
the
the
mountain.
mountain.
Because there's three.
Let me tell you different Copper Hill and then and now. I think it was 5 automobile distributors that we had in Copper Hill, Tennessee.
See, that
at
blows
that
my
time.
mind.
Huh?
That just blows my mind
Oh
because
yeah, but it was a busy little place back then.
Yeah.
busier than here. I guess at that time, right?
Well, no, it wouldn't have been busy in Cleveland, I wouldn't think. But anyway,
They
I
couldn't
don't know.
support an automotive place today, hardly. But they had 5.
oh yeah,
Yeah. All working in the mines.
yeah, in the mines.
Now Copper Hill, Ducktown.
They had one in Ducktown. Had one dealership in Ducktown.
Did Copper Hill have a courthouse?
Yeah, this Copper Hill's only had 2 courthouses.
Copper Hill had one,
No, Ducktown did.
Ducktown's
Ducktown had one.
and so does Benton.
Yeah.
Benton, yeah,
The
Benton's the main courthouse.
Now, are they operated separately? You know what I'm saying? I mean, if we had
I think there's probably just up there on a uptime on a certain time bait,
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think.
Like a satellite station?
Yeah,
I mean, if you
probably
recorded
so.
a deed, if I had
Well,
a,
this would be one county agent, one. That's the county court clerk. That's what they call them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
don't,
one.
I don't know what it's. I know the sheriff goes up there sometimes, but I don't know what.
well, I
goes on.
remember I used to eat breakfast with John Simmons. Remember John Simmons? I don't know if you knew John Simmons.
No,
But he said Polk County was the only county, I think he said the United States or Tennessee or something, that had two separate courthouses.
That may be.
Because
yeah,
they
I
couldn't.
think that's right. I think that was right.
But would they be in? You don't think they're independently? If I recorded a deed in Ducktown Courthouse, would it be also recorded in the Benton Courthouse?
I would think so. If they do even do that, I don't. But I guess they do because to keep people from having to drive so far.
That's right. They'd have to record them both
Yeah,
places.
yeah.
That's one reason to have them too. You see.
But Copper Hill didn't have a. Copper Hill would have been a city, right? I guess.
Oh yeah, yeah, hmm yeah. They had policemen up there.
Did they have the blue line across there then that said McCaysville and Copper Hill, or had they painted that blue line later?
Probably later. I don't remember it because
Did you live in Tennessee or Georgia when your mom?
let's see.
lived up
We lived when we went to housekeeping. We was up over. It's in the edge of Tennessee.
Okay.
John. I said. I started to say John Doherty. Let's see, who was that?
I know who you're
His
talking about.
dad. His
Yeah.
dad. He owns a
judge.
house now. Yeah, you know where it is.
Yeah.
Did you eat at the New York restaurant there?
Not too often. I don't recall eating there. I sure don't. I carried my lunch with me. Of course, I ate there. I stayed at the what was the name of that restaurant there?
Hotel.
Yeah, the hotel.
What's the
there.
name of that? It starts with an M?
It's tore down now.
Starts with an M?
No, that don't sound right. Let's see. It's
Maslin?
his daddy, his daddy. One of the sons had the oil distributor place there, going out in town out there.
Now, Ducktown at that time, when you moved from Ocoee and got married and moved up there, you were moving to a bigger town.
Oh yeah,
Isn't that something?
yeah, yeah.
But I guess today Copper Hill is busier than.
Well,
I don't know, though.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. They're still doing some business out of Copper Hill, I think, but I don't. It's have to go out by truck apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And they had up there. Those trucks run at night, didn't they? When they were loading some kind of waste material. They had a big mountain of it up there.
Yeah, that was the chemical stuff, right?
They had a big.
Taking it to a barge and.
They're taking it
Yeah.
to the barge in Chattanooga, and when they got the barge loaded up, they would run maybe one train. They had all them cars up there. They'd run on one train.
Was Turtletown ever a big town?
I wouldn't think so. They had a wood yard over there, ship wood to pulpwood to Bowater.
What about that place they call Foreigner?
Foreigner, just a wide place in the road too. It's up top of the hill, top of the mountain.
Now the Dream Poet. You ever heard of him? Chet Guthrie. He does some real good
Oh yeah.
documentaries on.
his-
He is really good. I enjoy watching him. But he talked about that city that was abandoned. What was the name of that? I can't. For the life of me, I can't think of it. It starts with an M.
McFarland?
McFar. Is that it?
I don't
There
know.
was a McFarland. They loaded some logs or something down there. I think years
This
and
was
years ago.
this was a
It's on the.
city that was. Yeah, McFarland, Tennessee.
Yeah, it would be between Etowah and Ducktown.
Yeah, and didn't you say he had a brother that worked there?
Well, at
All right.
the one that his brother that was in the war, he became
the dam there.
electrical engineer for TVA, and so he worked at a lot of these dams.
Yeah, he had to go to those dams.
Do you remember McFarland, Tennessee?
Oh yeah, I've heard of McFarland, but we didn't have no depot there. But I remember back from being a village, being a village.
So it wasn't really a city. It said
Well, they're incorporated, I think.
Were they?
I think cities are
Oh
incorporated.
yeah,
I
but
think.
McFarland was.
Yeah.
Tell me about all the towns in Kaysville and Copper Hill. Little towns like Dogtown and all these.
Oh yeah,
every little
Hanging
town.
Dog, Hanging Dog.
Yeah, they had all kinds of towns.
My neighbor, I don't know. You didn't know what they did. Mom and Dad did. Where one stopped and one.
When you
began.
had wasn't there an East Annalee or something, or not Ellijay, not
All these said.
Eastonolly. No, that's
All
not.
these ended in town. It was
There's
Dogtown.
a East Ellijay now.
Yeah, but
The
you
East
got,
Ellijay is bigger than Ellijay on account of the 4-lane highway.
no, I know what you're talking about. It's you got Copper Hill, McCaysville, and you got a little town before you get to Blue Ridge. And what was the name of that? I want to say Eastonolly, but it's not that.
Oh,
Out
let's
there
see.
about
That's where that branches off and goes to.
is that about Abernathy's place, furniture.
I was trying to think.
Yeah, Abernathy's Furniture.
Abernathy's Furniture.
That's-
Oh yeah, there's a community on out there.
What's the name of it?
Epworth.
Epworth, that's it.
Epworth,
Georgia.
Epworth, Georgia.
That was a big thing.
Oh yeah, I had one of the fellows that worked with me there in the depot. He lived at Epworth. Vic Johnson, this fella right here.
I think Stanley Thompson's dad's from Epworth. That's
Here's-
why I remember.
He was chief. There's Vic Johnson. He lived at Epworth, Georgia. That fella right there. That fella's a.
Can you see that, Gwen? Epworth, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people then were more proud of their little communities,
Oh
weren't they?
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. That's. I was young back in that picture.
Which one was you?
See if you can find me there in the back.
That was
Right.
1950, right when you was taking up housekeeping.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right after I married. Right about the time I married.
I can't say. Oh, they're here. Well, you were a
Yeah.
big. You were a big guy. You were 6 foot. You were 6 foot right there.
Yeah, I said
Now, everybody in here is shorter than you.
now.
So
He's taller than I am.
yeah, but when you were this age, were you taller than most people? Versus now, most
Well,
people are. Of course, the average height.
Average, yeah. I think me and my brother just my age. I think we're pretty close to the same age. The brother's just 2 years older than me.
Do you think people are taller now than they used to be?
Yeah, I think they are. Look at how many ball players, 6'8" and all of them in there.
You know, thinking of basketball, that's got to be one of the unfairest sports. I mean, if the taller you are, I mean, you just hold the ball above everybody. I mean, isn't that, there's a distinct advantage.
I heard one coach, a former coach, he said he wished they put the hole in the floor.
I forget what.
It'd make it fair, wouldn't it?
And here was that's an old Fort Depot, and it's made just like the
One at
Benton
that
Station
station.
Depot.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see that, Gwen?
Yeah, this old fella right here, he was a member of the community between Copper Hill and Mineral Bluff. I forget what the name of that little place was out there.
Don't tell me. Copper Hill and Mineral Bluff?
Mm-hmm. It was closer to Copper Hill, I believe. But
Don't tell us.
he lived on that road there. I forget. Let's see.
Middle Bluff Highway.
What was the name of that?
He's trying to zoom in on.
Oh, yeah.
That one.
Yeah,
If
still,
that building could talk,
Oh,
what would it
it's
say?
still standing, but it was deactivated before he even started on the railroad.
Mm.
It's down there.
Yeah, as old P. Sneed. They could,
Poppy probably wants to talk about you.
okay.
Who's Pete Sneed? I went to school with a guy named Tracy Sneed. I wonder if that's related. I guess it is. Now, where did you meet your wife?
I met in Cleveland.
Well, tell them.
Was she? What was her maiden
He was
name?
on a double date. Tell them about you.
And that's on the double day.
What was her maiden?
Tinsley.
Uh-oh.
Glenda Tinsley.
Uh-oh. Was that related to Kenneth?
No, that's a different bunch.
Different
This
bunch.
is more Rando Tinsley, the old barber downtown and stuff.
Yeah, Lightning, they called him. Right?
He's the oldest barber in the state of Tennessee. at one
Wasn't he
time.
93?
He's that way up in his 90s.
Didn't Joe V go up on his rent and he
Yeah,
moved
that's-
out to Harrison Pine?
That
Wasn't even sign a contract.
Yeah, when did he sign a contract? How did you sign a contract at 96?
Yeah.
How about the
Brad, he
Handmaid
was-
Mom? They was on a double date with it, but not with each other.
Not with each
How
other.
was she related to Rando Tinsley?
It's her uncle.
So Rando Tinsley's brother was your wife's
She had
Daddy.
daddy,
His name was June.
June Tinsley.
June Tinsley.
He worked at Bohemian and he worked at
I see.
Renner Wholesale.
Renner Wholesale.
And that was his uncle.
His house was right across the highway from north and south truck stop.
Mm.
He passed the
Boy,
Honda
that
place.
was a long.
Right down below.
Got the
South-
big cross in the yard. Don't
No,
they have a big cross, or they did?
It's just right past that church. The
Church of
wasn't
God.
there
That's
then.
Church of God
Yeah.
there, I
Just
think.
Yeah.
past the Honda place.
Now,
Yeah.
so you were on a double date.
Mhm.
How old were you then?
Well, it wasn't too long. I didn't date her too long, did I?
I
I
wasn't
fooled her
around.
right
I don't
away.
know.
Was you like 25 or 19?
No, he's 24 when y'all got married.
Yeah, I was 24 and got married. I was in my late 20s.
What was you doing then? Well, you still at the railroad.
I still was the railroad.
So who
And
said?
this is the guy I was running around with. He's
What was his name?
Carl Brock. He's dead.
So he calls you up and says, "Hey, I got these two chicks."
Oh, he didn't have a car, and I furnished.
That's what it
transportation.
was.
So you just had the car because you had the good job.
Yeah.
And so he had a. He was going
If you
out.
call 40 cents an hour, good job.
So he was going out. He was going out with her,
Yeah.
and he was going to take you. He was going to set you up with her friend.
Yeah.
What was her name?
She's from McDonald down there. What was her name? Red-headed. What was her name?
Where's her hair?
She went to that Methodist church down there at McDonald.
That's everybody back then. Went to the Methodist church.
You get what her name is now.
Guthrie.
No, it wasn't Guthrie. No
Yeah,
more.
they lived just past the store on the right.
Oh, is that the name?
I think so.
The
That's the Guthries out
Did you ever
there.
know that fella had that? What was that old car he had down there at McDonald's? It's some kind of odd number, old car, some big old car.
I don't know.
So when he calls you, what did he say?
I don't know.
But do you remember the first date like it was yesterday?
No, I really don't.
Where did y'all go? Where did y'all go? Do you know where you went?
Just ride around, I guess, in the car. probably.
Not to go to eat or to the movies or nothing.
No, I don't believe so.
And so you decided you liked the other one better.
Yes, she was prettier than this. My wife was prettier than this other one.
Well, how'd you make the transition? I mean, how did you do the?
No,
Because that's not an easy move, is it?
no.
Did you get her number or did she have a phone?
They always had a telephone, I think.
I've not heard this story. I just knew
No,
about
I
the
ain't
double
either.
days.
He got me behind the 8 ball now, I
He's afraid Mom's gonna see this.
think. Yeah.
Or that other,
She
the
did.
redhead.
Yeah, the redhead.
But it worked out, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How long you been married?
60.
71.
Oh, yeah. 71 years.
71
in
years.
October.
That puts you how old?
I'm 95.
95.
Mm-hmm.
I got a guy that works with me. He's 92, and he just got married.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's
Clay.
92. Clay, yeah, just got married. So
These little yellow Toyota trucks.
he's still driving.
Old Doc German's getting on up there. He ain't as old as I
He's
am.
passed away. He passed away
Oh, he did? Well, bless his heart.
about a
I
week
remember
after
when-
he was here.
I remember when his wife died, and he had him a second wife. A court. He's a court. She's some old coy. I said, what was her
He was
name?
an interesting person, wasn't
Oh,
he?
yeah.
Did you know him back then?
I knew him when he was racing. Him and his brother was racing.
So were they really? They were really
Oh,
good,
yeah,
weren't
they're
they?
good. They raced motorcycles, too. Yeah, no, it's crazy.
I enjoyed talking
what
to
they
him.
done, that'd be crazy.
Now, did you your 71 years? What's the secret?
Well, I don't know.
Mom said it's a life sentence.
It's not easy, right?
No, it's not an easy road.
You just gotta hang in there, I reckon.
I
You
guess.
just
yeah.
hang in there.
Did you go to lunch today? Did you go to church this morning?
No, I didn't go. We used to like to go out and eat. My wife's not feeling good here lately, and we hadn't been getting to go out too much on Sunday morning. I usually try to go on Sunday night.
To church?
Yeah, but my church is not having Sunday night service, so I have to go to a little smaller church that has Sunday night service.
Do you like that? Do you like the smaller churches okay or what?
Well, I like both of them. I like my home church because I've been a member of that church for a long, long time.
Which
Yes.
church is that?
Benton Station Baptist Church.
Right across the street from that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Just we used to walk
Yeah,
to church all the
I was
time.
ordained a deacon in that church.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I rode my bicycle by there, and it came a downpour.
Mhm.
And I was standing on the front porch, and it was pouring, and I was soaking wet. And people just walked in and said, "How you doing?" I thought, I thought, well, you'd think somebody at the church would ask if your one is right. I guess I was too wet or whatever. But Benton Station is a nice place to live, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was.
Did you know Whitey Ramsey, when you went under the bridge, he lives on the left?
Oh, yeah. Whitey died not too long ago. Yeah.
And his brother Dewey.
Yeah.
I was good friends with Dewey.
He is a real estate man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Dewey's still alive, right?
Yeah. Far as
like
I know,
Dewey,
I hadn't seen him in years, but as far as I know, he is.
Do you remember when Whitey
Killed that man.
killed that man?
Yeah. Mhm.
Is the bullet hole still there?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think somebody told me the bullet hole was still there.
I never heard
I
of
never
that.
did see the bullet hole.
I know it. I understand that.
You're from Polk County. You never did see the bullet hole. Well, let me ask you this: when your days at Etowah, how long were you? What was your job there? Was that the last place you were at?
We had to copy more train orders than we did at old Colway.
Was that
Because
the-
that's where the trains originated, and some of them was coming through from Change Crews, of course, in Etowah, coming from Corbin, Kentucky. Coal trains, that is, going all the way through.
Was that your last place that you worked?
No, I was at Chattanooga.
Now, at Etowah, when they changed engineers, or I call drivers,
Yeah.
that guy had come from where?
Corbin, Kentucky.
And
And
did it take-
Etowah, when they changed in Etowah.
How long did it take him to get there?
Well, I forgot how many hours it would take. If he had a good run, well, they had an hours of service law, but it changed. I don't know what it was. It used to be 16 hours, I think, but they kept cutting it down. Seemed like it might have been 12.
So he might have been on that train for that long?
I won't say
No, it wouldn't have been 16 hours.
it probably wouldn't from Etowah. I mean from Corbin, but
So was there one engineer in the front and one in the back in the caboose?
no, there wasn't. That's a conductor in the back.
Conductor was in
and a
the
flagman. Conductor and a flagman in the caboose, and engineer, fireman, and the head brakeman and the head engine.
You know, that's just the opposite of what I thought. I thought the driver would have been in the front, the engine in the back. But this is the...
Oh, you had a helper pushing. Yes, now they're running some diesel engines in the middle of the train now. We didn't do that not on our division too much when I was working, but I think they're doing it more now. They're using a diesel engine maybe in the middle of the train somewhere, but it's remote. There's nobody on it.
When the engineer would come in and they'd switch, and he'd been riding 10, 12, 16 hours, and they switched out, what did he do? Did he stay in Etowah the night?
Well, now they had switchmen in Etowah Yard. The road engineer didn't usually have to do a whole lot of switching unless it was bringing the engine from the roundhouse up and put it on his train. Maybe he had to do that.
Excuse me, I think he meant switching drive engineers, not switching cars. I think is what he meant.
Just the drivers. Where did they go when they switched them?
When they changed engineers.
Oh, well, some of them lived in Etowah because they went home.
But the ones that, how did they get back to Corbin?
Some of them stayed to motel. Some of them lived in Corbin, Kentucky.
So
well, they rented them a place in Etowah to go in and lay over till they went back on.
Was
the
there
train.
a motel in Etowah?
Yeah, there's one of there's a guy on the south end in charge of it. I stayed in it.
Oh, I know where you're talking about. It's where the Green Thumb is now. Isn't that the Green Thumb?
Well, there used to be a grocery store there in Etowah. It's gone now, I think. And right in front of it was, I forget what the name of this, Alan McCrossy or somebody that lived in Etowah, they could tell you about all these things, but I forget what the name of it was. But this guy was, he was originally from Carter. He lived in Cartersville, Georgia, but he run this rooming house in Etowah. He kind of maintained it, but he run the fast freight out of Etowah.
So they would lay over there.
Yeah, Etowah was a laying oil plant.
Now, if you were from Corbin, Kentucky, and you drove down to Etowah on the train, and they switched you over, now the driver's taking over, you're going to stay the night at this boarding house. How do you get back to Corbin, Kentucky?
On another train, more than likely.
So you may stay there.
A northbound train.
You may stay there 2 or 3 days.
Well,
or 2 days.
It's according on how business was.
Yeah. So this is a big orchestrated.
They had some on what they call a fast freight. They were pretty regular, you know. They were pretty regular about every day, you know. They've had seniority enough to be on the fast freight. Well, you probably get out every day.
I see.
But you might have to lay over a day or two if you're on the extra board or something.
You know, we talk about this railroad being talk about it in light terms, but that was a really big orchestrated thing. You talk about where the engineer's going, where he's stopping, where they staying, get the tickets out. I mean, that was a big deal. Everything was busy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have dummies working. Let me tell you about Gobbles Automotive. They're on North Lee Highway, just past Captain D's. They're family owned, they're family operated. My whole family uses them. They've stood the test of time. They will do you a good job. Give them a try. They're no problem. Do you think that you could have picked a better career?
And Etowah was pretty big, little place during the war, but they had a grab hall, we call it, there in the depot.
A grab hall?
Oh, yeah, a restaurant.
They always call them grab halls?
Yeah, some of the small places, they call them a grab hall.
The small depots?
The restaurants.
Inside the depot?
Yeah.
There's
grab
the depot
hall.
pop. Where was it in the depot?
Is that the original
Well-
building? So a grabbing hall was like a snack, what we'd call a
Oh,
snack
yeah,
bar.
it's a little restaurant. you
To
know.
have seating in there?
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
What
That's
kind
during
of
World War II.
what kind of food?
I never did eat there, really, I don't think. I don't remember. It was done away with mostly when I was working up there. They didn't have it there when I was working there.
Now you said
They had it during World War II in there.
when you worked in Copper Hill, you said you took your lunch every day.
Yeah. I did when I was driving back and forwards. I drove back and forth to Mocoy there a while. And
Why didn't you just go to the restaurant and eat lunch?
40 cents
Well,
an hour.
Was that?
I was. I
mean-
had to take time off from I had an 80-hour schedule, and I didn't.
What
get
did you pack it? What did you generally? Did you eat the same? Were
Well,
you one of those
I've
that
had
eat
it-
the same
I've had
thing?
it kind of go bad on me in hot weather. I have. I forget what it was, but I have.
What would you pick? Did you have like leftovers from last night, or did you have a ham sandwich, or
Yeah, something like that. My mother would help me fix something like that.
not your wife?
No, that's my mother.
What about after you got married? Did you?
Well, we moved up there, and right after we married, we moved up there
I
in
know, but
Copper Hill.
what'd you do for lunch then? Did you go home? Did you have a break to go home, or did Mom bring you something? Well, she didn't drive then, so.
Well, yeah. But after I married, of course, when I moved in an apartment up there.
Did she make you a lunch to take? Or?
Yeah, something like that.
When you that apartment,
Sack lunch, yeah.
like an apple or something?
Yeah,
Something.
probably so.
When you said you lived in an apartment in Copper Hill? Did you You lived upstairs?
Yeah,
What was the name of that place?
Arthur Dalton.
It was a individual judge's house.
You
Ah.
could look out off the stairway there and see the football game and going to the Copper Hill football team was right there. It's right down the street there, where we've lived.
You know, Copper Hill has all those houses up on the hill. It looks like that erosion would just tear them down, but they've been there for years, hasn't they?
Yeah.
Not like California.
No.
The mudslide.
Well, when we lived in Copper Hill, it wasn't but the hills and valleys up there.
Did you
Now
like
it's a
living?
big tree. Yeah, we liked it. We'd go to the movies after I got off at 9 p.m. and the Georgia Theater was the name of it.
Was it
Oh,
in Copper Hill or is it in Blue
It's
Ridge?
over in Georgia. It was across the river. There's a church or something.
Blue
in it
Ridge.
now.
No,
No,
McKaysville.
it's in McKaysville. It's in McKaysville, Georgia.
Oh,
The Twin Cities.
oh.
Twin City.
Mm.
We'd go to the movie. They had a movie there in McKaysville at that time. We'd go to it after I got off work at 9 o'clock.
Was it like it was just one theater, right?
Yeah.
It just had the same movie for all week. Isn't that the way they used to do them? One movie for like a week.
I think so.
Or maybe change on the weekends. Or
Yeah.
Yeah, something like
I remember on Andy Griffith, they'd say, "What movie is on next week?" Isn't that something? And we'll watch 3 tonight.
Yeah.
or parts of 3.
You call and see what was on.
Yeah,
they had
cause
that on.
yeah. Remember on Seinfeld when Kramer they'd gotten his number, and so he was giving the information for the. He was giving the information because he. Welcome to movie phone or something like that. So what do you think? What do you think about the people today versus then, in general?
Well, we had to work when I was growing up, and I'm glad we did.
Why do you say that?
Well, look the way some of the guys gets in trouble that don't have a job. They get on dope and this, that, and the other, and got nothing to. I don't know. I've never tasted this stuff and don't want none of it. But anyway, if that's what makes you feel good, I don't want none of it.
So you're saying that having to work back then was probably better?
Oh yeah, I'd say it's better. We had a few dumbs back then, and I know some people that lived over on Horns Creek community. They'd go out. There's about 2 of them that's older. I guess they're older than I was probably. But they'd go off and leave their daddy to tend to the crop, during the season, They'd go out. I don't know whether they went to live with some of their people or what, but anyway, they'd go out for the work was not, and then after everything was all over with, well, they'd come back home,
So there were people back then that were
Deadbeats.
deadbeats too.
Yeah, they was.
Yeah. Do you think
And it's their parents that let them get by with it too.
So it was also the parents' fault too, I guess, for not making them
a lot
work.
of it was the parents' fault. So they'd crack that whip a little bit. Like my daddy had a leather belt.
Do you think that when you were when you were coming up, what were the pitfalls then? Alcohol, I guess, was about it, right?
Well, moonshine. Yeah, I had some guys that from Cookson's Creek community. We went to a party one night. They tried their best to get me and I wouldn't do it. I thought I was gonna have to fight them.
How come? Why didn't?
They was trying to get me to take some alcohol. I didn't take it. I didn't drink it.
So you never, not even a beer?
No, I don't even know what beer tastes like.
Was that a upbringing or religious convictions, or where do you think you got that?
I never did know. My daddy might have drank some back in his young days, but I never did know it when he did. Now I had my second oldest brother. He nipped a little bit, not much, but one time he was at the Shed Cemetery and he got a little bit high, and I think Evan told him to go home. I think he's younger than he was. I think he told him to go home.
What was that name of that? Was there a name of that shed? Was it
Shed Cumberland Presbyterian?
But what was the name
Church.
of that community? Just Ocoee? Was it still in Ocoee, or did it have a
Well,
name?
it changed the time of time from Old Fort to Ocoee, but I think I was really born in Ocoee. I think really by the post office Ocoee when.
So Ocoee, Old Fort was where sheds.
One of the two.
Yeah.
The mail carrier from Old Fort had it part of the time, and Ocoee had it. But Ocoee one time, I don't know whether he even had it. Well, it wasn't as long as Old Fort. Anyway, Old Fort came through ball play and all the way around. It was long.
Now, that Sheds community, what was that, Baptist?
No, it's Presbyterian. Cumberland Presbyterian. My mother was a Presbyterian.
Wonder how she became Presbyterian and not Methodist or Baptist.
I don't know whether they had who the housekeeper was, really. Mr. Irvin, I guess.
Are you Presbyterian today?
No, I'm Baptist. I'm Southern Baptist.
Not Primitive Baptist.
No,
Southern.
no, I never did take the Lord's Supper. I'm in Washington for his feet. I get it. Excuse me. I've taken the Lord's Supper, and don't get me wrong, there, but
Right.
I never have taken the washing of the feet. I never have done that.
Yeah. They're all just a little bit different. aren't they?
Yeah.
How was it getting your mother was Presbyterian or your wife?
My mother was Presbyterian. No, my wife was Baptist.
Well, how did you? So that's why you became Baptist.
I was already a Baptist when I met her.
How did you switch from Presbyterian to Baptist?
Oh, I never did switch. I just went to a Presbyterian Sunday school.
Oh.
I never did switch.
Oh.
My first church was Blue Ridge Temple in Oldport.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
One of his brothers was the pastor of Beach Springs Church.
Yeah.
Now, do you go to Lottie's every morning?
Yeah.
What time?
Well, I got a friend that goes out for breakfast, and I've already eat breakfast, but I go early and eat my lunch with his breakfast. But
What time does he get there?
I usually leave home somewhere around 10 o'clock and get there. I stop at the garbage pickup lots and leave my garbage and everything. I usually get there. Most time I'm there about 10:30.
What time does he get there?
Well, he'll get there. He's usually there when I get there because they cut off breakfast at 11, supposed to, but he's kind of partial. He's
Yeah.
been going so long. I think they fudging
Yeah.
a little on him. I think.
So you
I
go
hope
the
so.
you leave your house.
I
go
come
by-
down Highway 314, come to Benton, come by the post office on Main Street.
Go behind what used
and
to be
get over
Hatcher's.
on 411 there in town and go toward Old Coy.
But you said you stopped at the trashed up place.
Yeah, it's down there. You turn off of 411 on
Now
down
that
there.
used to be behind Hatcher's Grocery, right? Remember
Yeah,
Hatcher's?
oh yeah, I remember Hatcher. yeah.
Whatever happened to them?
Well, they went bankrupt, I reckon. I don't know as far as Dairy's concerned, but
No, but they had the
they're one of the boys has still got that place in Oodlewall, I think.
no.
Oodlewall.
No, you think about somebody else.
Hatcher's was the feeding hardware, right? It's like a co-op.
Yeah, they had a store out there at the
And then
fourth of the
before,
Yeah.
before that, it was
For the-
it was
Who was it?
Morehouse's.
Moore's house.
had it
Moore's
before.
house had
Had
yeah.
a grocery
yeah.
store.
Yeah, well, I made the preacher, the one that's a preacher now, I think he had a store out there later, I believe.
Did you know J.P. Morehouse?
JP?
Yeah.
Oh, I went to high school with him.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's
The airplane
dead.
pilot.
He's dead. Yeah. He's dead now.
Well, I know about everything, don't I?
Yeah.
I sold him. He bought an
Well,
old
his
bush
wife
hog
died
I
a long
had.
time ago. His wife died long. I know the lady he had his lady friend there a good while. She's dead too.
Now I was built.
She's married to old Doc, who's that Dr. Nutt that we had. We've had some from the office, doctors.
Oh yeah, that could be another show. We don't want to call him.
Let me tell you a funny story. My uncle, I used to work for my uncle. He built houses, and we started building a house for a guy by the name of J.P. Morehouse.
Oh, I know JP. I know where he lived. He
Well, that's
had
the
an
house.
Airport, had an airport up there.
That's where we built that house. I was there every day. And
Is that
I was
right?
in
Yeah.
junior and high school. I'd leave school and go work there.
Oh,
Well, we were building it when the firecracker thing blew up.
Oh, yeah.
That was the same time we were building it. In fact,
yeah.
it cracked the basement, I think,
Is that right?
because it was that close.
Oh, yeah.
And
I know where.
but what was so funny was, like 3/4 of the way into the job, Joe said, "I need you to go to the Moore." He said, "Where are you going?" I said, "To the Moors." And he said, "To the Moors." And he said, "Where's that?" And I said, "Where we're building." He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "To the Moors up in Benton." He said, "No, the Morehouse." And I said, "No." I thought he was saying the Morehouse, but it was Morehouse.
Yeah, Morehouse.
So whatever happened to him?
Well,
He flew for Pan Am, right? Some kind of big airplane company.
JP.
Yeah, he flew a passenger plane.
Did he have his own plane up there? At his
Not at
house?
the time. He would always say, "Whatever it takes, whatever it takes."
Oh,
That was his saying. He was a really nice guy.
Yeah,
You went to high school with him?
Oh yeah.
What was he like?
he dropped out before he finished. He finished after we did. But he might probably went to the service.
He was a real sophisticated guy.
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
sophisticated.
He dropped out. He didn't graduate. He graduated from Polk County High School, but it was 2 or 3 days later than what he's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to be in class of 44.
So he went off to the military, got his pilot license, started flying commercial. Because when he came back to Polk County, in fact we started the house before he officially retired.
Yeah.
He was old then.
Yeah, he come back, and his first wife died, and then he went with the one Doc Gross married. What was her name?
One you went to school with, Henrietta, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now, when you leave, you go by the Polk County dumpster every morning?
Yeah, just about every day.
Is it free?
It's free to Polk County.
So you go and throw it, and then you go the back way?
I just go back home and get on 411. Go down. There's a road you turn off and go down to there by the library.
By the library.
And Polk County.
Yeah. And then
Polk County Insurance Company up there.
Yeah, Farm Bureau.
Farm Bureau.
Yeah,
up, You turn off of there and go right down through there and then get back on 411.
Which used to be...
Old 411.
Which was Joker Joe's, right?
Yeah.
Remember it was Joker Joe's?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was in full swing when we was building JP's house.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
JP's Morehouse's house.
Yeah.
So now at Lottie's, I've eaten there, and
well, some nut there in Cleveland, Benton owns it.
What's his name?
They don't own it.
The building, you mean?
Yeah, the building. Have you seen since they put a front porch on it?
Yeah, I ate on the front porch.
Oh,
they said we don't have any, they said we don't have any seats, but you can sit here. And I sat down, and next thing I know, they're bringing somebody else to sit down right beside me. And so I was sitting there with
now they're not
strangers eating.
They're not open on Monday anymore. They won't be open tomorrow. I'll have to hunt me another place to eat.
So they're quitting on Monday. Were they close?
They were open on Monday.
So
the they were closed for Sunday at one time.
Now, when you go there, what you get there? What'd you say?
I get 10 vegetables. I'm a vegetarian.
10 o'clock. Are you vegetarian?
No, I'm not really, but that's what I get.
What time do you get there?
What time I get there? Anywhere from 10:30 to a little later.
And so what do you order usually? You order different stuff or the same thing?
Dried beans, coleslaw.
What do you mean dried beans?
Pintos or white beans or mixed beans. They'll serve one day and they don't serve them both the same day.
And then the third day it's mixed.
Yeah, I prefer pin, but I've learned to eat white beans, but I don't like them.
I don't like them either.
I don't like
eat
them. I do too, but I don't like them well do pintos.
Yeah. Now,
and they usually give me a little cup of chopped onion to put in with it.
I like that, don't you?
And coleslaw. And I told the owner, I said, I'm not complaining, but I said, I wish you'd put more mayonnaise in the coleslaw. It was awful dry.
Yeah,
it was awful dry, but she's been putting me some.
You got to be careful with mayonnaise when you go to these restaurants. Mayonnaise can really mess you up if it's not. Now, when you go to Lottie's, what did you say? Dried beans?
Yeah, that's mixed. It's a few pintos and whites.
But why you call it dried? Dried?
Yeah, they are dried.
I never heard that.
They're not green.
I never heard that.
Oh yeah, they're dried. They call dried beans. That's pintos and white beans and mixed beans.
So just dried beans.
Yeah, dried beans.
That's like housekeeping, I guess.
I guess.
So now do they have sliced tomato there?
Oh yeah, they give. Now, a friend of mine, he used to go to the Mennonites up there. Mennonites.
Amish. Yeah, I like that.
He used to go up there when they had, but they're out of season now. Boy, he kept us into. He'd usually get 2 tomatoes, and slice him one, and slice me one.
Boy,
Well,
that's
I
good,
take
yeah.
part of mine home because I didn't eat it all.
Well, I love homegrown tomatoes.
After their season's over with, he can't get them up there anymore. So the Lottie's has been furnished us about 3 slices of tomatoes with my vegetables.
They're not the same though, aren't they? They don't taste the same as homegrown tomatoes.
No, they're not. They're not as good, but they're a good substitute. They're a good substitute.
It'll work.
Yeah.
What about they have cornbread or rolls?
They have cornbread, but it's not as good as my wife makes. I'll tell you that right now. It just crumbles all to pieces. But it's a good substitute, but it's nothing like homegrown.
Now when your buddy that gets there, what's his name?
Don Prince.
Don Prince.
Mm-hmm. He's retired army man.
Did you know him before?
No, I didn't. I met him there. And he drives. He's got a lady friend in Benton, and he lives over in Meigs County. And I guess he stays over here some. But anyway, if he was to stay at home, he'd have to drive about 45, 50 miles.
So there's a question there, isn't
He comes and eats breakfast for lunch. I eat lunch. And he'll come back most of the time for the evening meal too, but I hardly ever go for the evening meal.
So he wasn't from Benton?
No.
You just met him there?
Yeah, I met him there.
What's the conversation like?
Well, just a little bit of it. Phil, now I found out something. There's 6 Lea Lees buried in Lee Cemetery. Lea.
Oh.
Is that the same cemetery?
Yeah, it used to be.
One on South Lee Highway.
It used to be LEE.
It's LEE, but it's rich.
And Lee
That's
Street,
right.
Lee
That's
Street
right.
in Cleveland used to be LEA. Broad Street.
Which was named after?
Luke Lee.
I thought it was Robert E. Lee.
No, I think it's Luke. He's buried down in the cemetery. I guess he's named after Luke Lee.
Let me tell you about Capstar Bank. They're located in Nashville, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Athens, Madisonville, Sweetwater, Etowah, and in Cleveland at 950 25th Street and 3855 North Ocoee Street. I've used them. I like them. Give them a try. They're no problem. How long do you stay there when you get to Lottie's?
Well, I used to stay. Don Raines is another friend, comes in there most of the time and eats, and I usually stay most of the time. And he gets through eating, but he's a little later than we are.
Couple hours.
I usually leave. I usually get home a little after 12, don't I?
Yeah.
So not long.
No, I used to get home a little after 12.
They got good coffee?
They say they do. I never drunk a drop of coffee there in my life. But there's a lot of people drink. And my buddy, he drinks. They just keep filling his up.
So you eat breakfast at home?
Yeah, I eat Jimmy Dean croissant.
What time?
7:45.
7:45 or 8 o'clock.
Do you fix it or she fix it?
He taught me how to fix it.
You fix it yourself?
Yeah.
She don't fix it?
No, she stays in bed.
Oh. Jimmy Dean sausage.
Croissants is better than the sausage. Croissants is a lot better than the sausage and egg.
So what do you eat on it?
Well, I throw the cheese away.
You buy the frozen one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I bought 2 packs today.
Mm-hmm.
2 8-packs.
Mm-hmm.
That'll last me now for.
And a banana.
Yeah, and a banana.
Would you eat sausage with it or what?
Yeah, sausage and egg.
That sausage will kill you.
Sausage and egg.
Do you drink coffee then?
No.
Yeah, you drink a little.
Oh yeah. At home I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was thinking about the restaurant. not a terrestrial.
So by the time you get to the restaurant, that's why you're eating lunch.
Yeah, I
and he's
just
eating
drank about a fourth a cup of coffee.
Yeah. So you're saying that guy comes back sometimes and eats of an evening?
Most time he does.
Now, why are they closed on Monday? Short on help or
I
what?
don't know. They was doing a little moderation there to start with, but I don't know. I hate that they did.
Now they've
And
got
the fact that I'd go out to Big Mama's, but she's closed on Monday and Tuesday.
Now,
She
where's
starts out on Wednesday. Where's Kathy used to be? You knew where Kathy used
right
to be?
downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, in
behind
the
post
double
office.
wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, they
I've
say it's
eaten
pretty
there.
good. I ain't been out there, but I'd like to go on Monday, but she ain't open on Monday.
Now, where you gonna go?
Well, I've been to go. I'm not hardest in Old Coy, which I've got to where I don't like it.
He went to
I
that.
guess they're closed.
He goes to, sometimes he'll go to Wendy's out here.
Yeah,
or come out
sometimes we
here.
go to Wendy's
Me's.
out here.
All the way here.
I didn't find them out there today.
He's got a couple buddies that
A couple of buddies out there. I ate with them quite a bit when we lived in Cleveland. And I went out there today and
To
shoot, there
Wendy's.
wasn't neither one of them there.
Now, I know they go to Hardee's,
Well, they
but I don't
might.
know about Wendy's.
He's got a couple buddies that go to Wendy's about every
Yeah,
day
about
during the
every
week
day.
Now you
for
can go to the
lunch.
Old Fort in Cleveland.
That waitress in there said he'd been sick. Said he wasn't feeling good, so I guess that's the reason he
The
wasn't.
thing about Lottie's, if you're sitting on that stool and somebody comes in, they'll knock you off that stool. There's not enough room there, is there?
They moved it around quite a bit here late, and I believe they got more space. Now I like the one over with the window. Sometimes they'll have 3 people can sit there, and sometimes they'll have 4.
Right, yeah.
Sit there. Last 2 or 3 times they've had 3. So
Now, if you don't sit down and order, when they ask you for your order, you pretty well need to know it because they're not going to waste much time, are they?
well, they're good. They'll come back a second time. I've had them. I've come back and talked to other. Of course, they know what I want most of the time.
But you don't eat. You eat supper at home.
Yeah.
Have
yeah,
you always been a scheduled guy?
Yeah.
Railroad.
Was that the railroad
Yeah.
teaching, or was that?
Yeah.
You got any secrets to living to be 95?
Well, just believe in the Lord.
He's real, isn't he?
He's real.
You know that song that says, that Christmas song that says, it's been said many times, many ways, from kids from age 1 to 92.
Yeah.
So you're out of that now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I tell you what, your generation is what made things great.
Yeah. And
And
you said old Doc died.
he died like
Yeah.
a month ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll have to pull that up for him so you can see it here.
Of course,
Yeah,
I knew his older Harold. He had a brother older than him, Harold German. His Doc, and see, he had a brother about his age. Both of them was into the hot rods and stuff. What was his name?
I had him here on the podcast. He was raised at Caney Creek.
Oh yeah, Doc was too.
Yeah, that's what
Of
I'm
course, they
saying.
moved away there at a young age.
Well, he was about
There's young
14
age.
or 15,
His-
I think.
Was he that old?
Yeah, because his daddy stayed there another 2 years
Before they moved
before
him
they
out.
moved him out.
Yeah. TVA bought it out, and they had to move out.
Didn't it make,
Well, they-
Believe It or Not, Ripley's Believe It or Not?
Yeah, I think it did.
Did
There
you
wasn't a car. Everybody in.
Everybody owned the car, but
There was
never
one
been
guy
a
that had
car.
a motorcycle.
Yeah, everybody
Cool,
in the community there had a car, but there never was a car in the community. They couldn't get across the.
That's right,
swinging
'cause,
bridge.
yeah.
Couldn't get across the swinging bridge.
Do you think that do you watch any news at night?
No, very seldom.
None.
Very seldom.
What do you watch?
Andy
Football,
Andy Griffiths, football, and Andy Griffiths. I've seen it as hard as I wish there was something else that come on, but
I've been watching Sanford and Son the last 3 weeks. Boy,
Yeah.
it's funny. You forget how funny it is.
yeah, yeah.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you coming.
Yeah,
and
now
tell
here's,
us all about
let me
the
show you
elementary.
my seniority roster.
Right.
Here's the last one I got. I was on the top of the list. I went from bottom to top. H.E. Lee's right up on the top. That's all everybody that was on my seniority roster.
Is that number of months or years or how's that?
It's what year we went to work.
Well, let him see it there, Pop. He's
Yeah,
wants
so
to
what's
see
it-
it.
no, I'm-
5/18. That was the year I got my seniority.
What's
Five-
what's
maybe-
this right here?
Let me see. Let me look at this. That's where I took a payoff. I took a payoff from the railroad.
RFD 1, box 100.
That's my route number in Benton, Tennessee.
Effective close of business December 14th, 1988. You are released from the service of the carrier pursuant to CSXT clerical voluntary severance plan posted 1988.
Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah,
only,
I thought I got gypped out of it the first time, and they come along shortly thereafter, and I grabbed it.
I think it was the only railroad to ever change names without being bankrupt
Yeah,
or something.
L&N there was bankrupt.
So this was the seniority roster?
Seniority roster.
So this is dated
That's
January
on-
1st, 1988.
Yeah, that's the first one I got it before I retired.
So you was the highest
I was number one.
Number- number 1, number 181142, Lee, H.E. Lee.
Yeah.
What's sin date? What's that? Seniority date?
Yeah.
So it says May the 5th, May the 18th, 1944 is the day you went to work there?
That's how they give me seniority. I worked extra and had a temporary.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I went on the permanent.
Which is how
permanent
you got the
seniority.
job.
I went on the permanent list, and that day that's after I got out of high school and was available for work. You see,
What's that say? Chief?
chief dispatcher. Yeah, he's the one. He was over the train dispatchers.
Oh. That was you.
No, I wasn't. I was an operator.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew about all of those guys on that. Of course, they dovetailed a bunch of them off of another division in with us, as I didn't know personally, but I knew about all of the ones that was on my.
When you quit working there, what did you answer with the phone? Was there a
Well, I answered with telephone with Chatsworth, but Chatsworth was the last place over on this, and I was in the Walhatchee Yard in Chattanooga.
How did you answer the phone? What'd you say?
Well, one of the Chatsworth, I'd answer Chatsworth.
Just say Chatsworth?
Yeah.
What about Walhatchee, or did
You just say the railroad train station, blah blah blah.
Yeah. Well, if someone called me, I'd say Walhatchee Yard or something.
Yeah.
Now the L&N was also known as Old Reliable. Is that right?
Right.
Who gave him that name, reckon?
I don't know. They never was bankrupt.
And then there's the Dixie line too, and I don't
Yeah,
know
the
if
Dixie,
those were just nicknames they came up with. I don't know.
Now the L&N, I read up a little bit.
See, I was on the Nashville division. I was on the Atlanta division there for a good long while. They put me on with the guys over on the Chattanooga side, over on the Chattanooga side. But
Now
I had seniority on them. I rolled a guy that had seniority. Well, I had seniority on him, of course. See, here's Mo Fulbright on yours.
Did
He'd
you know
know
what the roll means?
I guess it means you stepped over him.
If a job came open, or his job got
Yeah.
cut off, he could bid on a job, and if he had seniority on that guy, then he got his job, or vice versa. Somebody
I'd hate to
get
do
you.
that. I'd hate to do that. I guess you had to, though. Didn't you? Somebody's going to do it to you. Now, did you think that when you went to work there with 16 that you'd be there the rest of your life?
Well, the way it looked at times, it didn't know, and then other times it looked good.
The L&N, it made it through the Civil War, the Depression, World War II, and it was got the nickname Old Reliable.
Yeah.
I just wonder if that's why maybe they had good help and maybe they hired people that were reliable.
Yeah. Yeah. And the C&O come in with us somewhere. I don't know how they did, but I think they come in when they went to CSX, Chesapeake and Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever? I saw a picture of you going into the Chatsworth. Do we have that one picture going into the Etowah office?
Is it too?
That's
That's the old Chatsworth Depot.
Yeah.
They saved it.
They saved
There,
Right
that-
there it is.
That's
That's-
Etowah.
Etowah.
That's Etowah.
And that says station agent on there, so I had him point at that
Yeah.
and took that picture. That's,
Is that been remodeled, or is that the original door?
There've been some changes made interior since I worked there. Something about, but the ticket office there is still. I mean, where I've had. I wish I had the 10% of what I've handed through that window there. Those checks, I'd be a
was
millionaire.
that payroll checks you handed out?
Yeah.
Because
See,
you
everybody
were
got their checks on. You see.
because you were the agent in charge.
And one time, I don't guess him and his wife is getting along too well. But anyway, these trainmen that run into Atlanta, they had a lot of, we call them expense vouchers, you know, and sometimes they'd have maybe, I've given maybe high as 2 or 3 or maybe 4 expense checks, you know. And one of them's wife husband come down there to get his check. He said, looked like you had sense much. Let's kept me one. He said, his wife had come down there and got them. I just give them all to her, you know, unless they had something out there not to give them to his wife.
You can't be responsible for everything.
No.
Can you? We got any more pictures, Gwen? What's that of?
That's Benton Station. That's the
That's-
biggest
oh,
one we could find of that station. I hadn't found it.
Now is that Big Frog Mountain behind it or Star Mountain?
No, that'd be Chilhowie.
Chilhowie, yeah.
Yeah, Chilhowie.
That's the west side of it. The train track's on the other side.
Right.
And
Now,
that's
That's the
a
artist.
technical drawing I got from
Yeah.
the L&N
In
Historical Society.
Louisville, I guess.
So they were saying this is how we want it built. That was the original plans.
Yeah, they were cookie
Oh,
cutters.
they
built
had
them.
they had carpenters out on that.
When would
ceiling.
they have built that?
1906 is when the railroad opened up down through there. So I don't know. They probably had the buildings long about that time, or maybe a little before. The railroad's supposed to open up in 1906.
Elevation on track. In other words, from standing from the track, that's the view.
Yeah. There's a platform there. No, that's a
That's
pasture train. We didn't talk much about that.
That's one old Jimmy Bradford gave you, I guess.
That was up there
That's
at
the
Copper
hummingbird.
Hill. That was.
Oh, is that Copper Hill?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah,
they,
okay.
They used it in that
Oh, in the-
excursion.
Did you have many hobos get on the? Did you see many hobos?
Well, they used to claim it that the hobos weighed more than the coal on the train. I don't know. I don't know. You'd see them. I've seen them walking from car to car. And boy, there's some of them. Boy, there's.
What'd they look like?
Well, they look a little overshaven, or maybe something like that.
What we'd consider
But
homeless
there's
today?
people that pretty well-to-do people that hoboed during the Depression.
Now, do you think? Do you remember seeing a lot of hobos on there, or just you'd see them just walking from car to car?
Well, occasionally, I didn't see all that.
Did you?
many.
Were you supposed to stop them?
Well, I didn't have no. They had a railroad detective that would.
with a big stick.
Well, be sheriff if necessary.
Where was the railroad detective?
Etowah. I used to know both of them. He'd come down there and make it go around, come around the old depot there at Benton Station every once in a while.
And make sure nobody was hitching a ride.
I guess it's
You know, it's like on the
have
three
something to do, really.
on the Three Stooges. They always hit on the train.
Yeah.
But now, why would they care if somebody rode the train? I guess liability,
Oh,
or
yeah.
did people worry about liability then like they do now?
Well, I guess they would. You know, during the Depression when time was hard, I guess they would kind of worry about, you know, whether somebody's going to sue me. But I don't know. But people didn't sue you much as they would now, I wouldn't think. Because people had worked back then, if they had a chance. Most people, 90% of the people, I'd say back then, during the Depression era, would work if they had the opportunity.
Why were they that way?
Well, they just raised that way.
And why were they raised that way?
Well,
is there a meaning behind all of it or not?
Well,
where does it originate?
Probably starved if you didn't. You know,
Yeah.
If your family,
I
if
guess
your
so.
mom
You
and
don't
dad
work,
didn't
you
work,
don't eat.
yeah.
It came
That's
from
what the Bible said.
Bible told Adam he'd have to work the rest of his life, didn't it?
Yeah.
Man will have to
Yeah.
work,
Well,
sweat
if you
from
don't-
his brow or something.
Yeah, if you don't work, you don't eat.
So it started out with that, then it
Yeah.
moved to a respect thing.
Yeah.
Now it's come to
Now,
it.
yeah.
You're almost looked at as, you mean you work 5 days a week?
That's $14, $15 an hour gone where they don't want to work
Yeah.
for some reason. That's
Yeah.
why I'd want to work
Yeah.
now if it's
People are not as self-sufficient, are they?
no.
Now, did y'all run to the doctor for everything?
No, didn't have the money to go to the doctor.
If you had, would
Had,
you?
or
would you?
What was that? What was that our mamas used to give us? It wasn't Crow.
Castor oil.
Yeah, castor oil. Yeah, stuff
Castor
like
oil.
That. Yeah,
Castor
stuff
oil.
like that.
Mom,
Yeah.
What did you take a lot of that?
No, not a whole lot.
But you took some.
I a little.
Was it
little.
what did they? Robitussin.
No, I didn't know what that was back then. Don't guess.
If you got to feel it, if you got allergies or runny nose or kind of a cough, would you run to the doctor, or was it more of a?
That's what the long sleeves were for.
Yeah.
So you just remember I remember on what was the name of that Beverly Hillbillies? Granny came up with she'd come up with a cure for cold, and they were going to patent it, and they finally got her to agree to sell it. And Jed said, "Yep," said, "You take that stuff and it'll be gone in 7 days."
Yeah.
It's always gone in 7.
Let me talk about this telegraph here just a little bit about. We had call letters. Every station had a call letter. That's BN. That's Benton.
Benton. Now do Benton again. Well, I just have to give up. That sounds.
Ocoee was CO.
Type an A.
A.
Yeah.
That's a A.
2.
That's a dot dash. Dot dash. Dot dash. Dot dash. Ocoee was CO.
Oh.
Ocoee.
Not only you're not spelling the word, you're spelling the abbreviation.
Yeah, usually it was 2 letters.
Oh, okay.
Tenga was NG. 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 And Chatsworth, where I was a long time, CW. W.
How long's it been since you did that?
It's been a long time.
60 years.
What if you misspell something? Is there a way to say scratch that?
DN.
No
I
worse.
mean, as you had,
Messed- I
had
messed
something to make, something to make over,
Is this
and
the
these-
length of this? Is it just for the arm? Like a
this
rest?
is what,
He made that for me,
Yeah, I
so
mean-
I could play on it.
yeah.
He just,
I had my
Can
daddy.
you do it?
mm-mm.
My daddy made me a little desk like.
He still has it.
I still had it. It was mounted on it.
Okay.
It had a lid. They had a lid to it. I could put stuff in. But it's made just smaller where a fella can. But of course, it's been years since I used one of those, and it's still kind of awkward for me. But I still think the spring is just not as plump.
I feel like saying,
Well,
Billy the Kid's on his way.
boy, you'd have to say
And it is-
BUSY, busy, kids, KIDS. That's spell each word.
By then, he'd done shot you.
Yeah, he done shot you.
That,
Do you have any real famous people that rode the train, or any like hold ups or anything? Any robberies or anything?
Oh, Rob, well, I don't know of any offhand.
did you ever
But-
see the circus train? Did it ever come through?
Yeah, I've seen it come through Etowah, but it never did. They just changed crews there. Of course, they wasn't stopping in Etowah, I don't think. Not in my days, they didn't.
What they did with the giraffes?
Yeah. That's only on cartoons, right? Well, I tell you, I really enjoy it. I'm glad you came.
Well, thank you. Thank
We got
you.
any more pictures, Gwen? Is that it? I've enjoyed it, Phil.
Thank you.
Glad to be-
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you.